Greetings and welcome to what is obviously a very different presidential forum. In the past, many of you have joined me in the Student Union Theater once or twice a year to hear updates regarding the important issues of the day, as well as to engage in a dialogue around your questions. We've used past sessions to talk about our values, share enrollment trends, discuss strategic priorities, and at least annually to outline the results of our budget development process. We planned to host forums last spring to share the results of our fiscal year 2021 budget process, but that was before COVID-19 changed everything. Working with the heads of Faculty Senate and our Council on Staff Affairs, we all agreed that given the vast number of questions which remained, delaying our next presidential forum just made sense. After all, the General Assembly had suspended their session in March and had gone home without passing a state budget. So obviously, our own budget work could not be completed either before the end of our spring term. Instead, we knew that by this fall, we would understand so much more about the virus and its total impact on what we do. And while many questions remain, we do know more. And as a result, I'm happy to join you today. Of course, I'm not in the Student Union with all of you, but hopefully this virtual forum will allow many more of you to take part. Now today I'm going to focus on 5 main topics: our response to coronavirus, our budget, VSU's fall enrollment, some anticipated challenges, and finally, an exciting new opportunity. At our request, many of you sent in questions, and rather than waiting until the end to answer them, I'll address those that were received as part of the aforementioned items. So let's get started. First, our COVID response. As you know, we acted quickly last spring to move all of our courses wholly online, and our staff rolled out a concierge coaching model of support that literally drew national attention. Those offerings continued through the summer, while multiple committees worked to create our plan for returning to more normal operations this fall. We are very pleased with how our faculty, staff, and students are following our new guidelines, and this includes the extent to which the wearing of masks has become the norm, not only in our buildings, but also even throughout our campus grounds. Acting on the suggestion of several of you, our coronavirus task force rolled out an online reporting tool a few weeks ago that provides all of you with up-to-date information regarding active case numbers. We are also staying on top of the latest information regarding testing, and we've created and trained our own team of volunteers who are aiding in contact tracing. Our student affairs staff has rethought all of our student life events, and they are continuing to do so now to best meet the needs of students. Meanwhile, they are working with student leaders to regularly encourage positive and safe behaviors, and they're stepping in when needed to confront violators. Finally, our amazing plant operations staff has adopted new cleaning protocols campus-wide, and we've adjusted those protocols as needed based on your input. So while COVID-19 clearly remains a very real threat, hopefully, we will continue to work together to mitigate the risks associated with the virus and keep our numbers as low as possible. And you'll be pleased to know that we are already looking ahead to the role we can play as the regional flagship university to educate South Georgia's residents regarding the need for everyone to get vaccinated once a vaccine is approved. And how are we doing that, you ask? Well, our Center for South Georgia Regional Impact, working in consort with regional public health officials, has begun strategizing on an educational campaign that will mimic many of the steps we took to promote participation in the U.S. Census. So that's right. When the time is right, your university will again take a lead role in positively impacting this place we call home, with the ultimate goal of helping us to get to the other side of this terrible pandemic. Of course, until we have a vaccine, these unprecedented times continue, and our budget has been just one of the many challenges that we've had to face together. The shutdown of businesses last spring had a dramatic impact on state revenue totals, and from the earliest days of the pandemic, we all knew that our budget would take a hit. At first, we thought that would come in the form of perhaps a very large end of fiscal year reduction. So we asked you to spend last spring only on essential items. In the end, though, the General Assembly managed to stave off any such reductions. But your cautious approach to spending enabled us to fund many of the important one-time requests you had proposed and pre-fund several costly items for the new fiscal year that started July 1. That was truly meaningful, especially when you remember that the lead up to the final passage of the new budget included talk about everything from a mandatory furlough of all employees to a 14% reduction in state allocation funding. And in late June, when the fiscal year 2021 budget was finally passed, the actual cut in state funding for VSU equated to 10.5%. That, coupled with an anticipated fall enrollment decline, led to a reduction in our operating budget of $12.1 million. Together with the fact that ongoing expenses such as energy costs continue to rise and some strategic priorities required new funding, it meant that we obviously had real work to do to make ends meet. From the beginning, our goal in responding to those cuts was to continue to fulfill our core academic and student success mission, while also limiting as much as possible broad impact on our employee group. We solicited your ideas for how to get there, and many of you suggested that we make significant reductions, at least for the year ahead, to operating and travel budgets. Campus leaders also offered up a total of 88 vacant lines from across the university and a retirement incentive program targeted at those who were already retirement eligible led to an additional 17 departures. Even with all that, however, some truly difficult decisions were still required. First, many suggested that delaying our CVIOG salary adjustment plan was the wise decision this year, and we therefore chose to do just that. And most unfortunately, a total of 7 reductions in force among our staff ranks were required as well. That said, as painful as all of that was, many of you suggested to me that you were grateful that we were able to avoid the kind of broad impact on our faculty and staff that many of you thought was possible or even likely when the full extent of the financial impact of COVID began to become clear last spring. I am grateful for that too, and I look forward to working with you as we move forward together. One way we will do that with our budget is through the continued input of our Budget Advisory Council. This year's BAC will begin meeting soon, so please follow your email for announcements regarding their work later this fall. Of course, not all news at Valdosta State has been sad, and one needs to look no further than our fall enrollment report to find a truly astounding headline. Together, we set out to turn retention around, and we've most definitely become a leader in that arena. Improvements in advising, tutoring, student life, and other initiatives aimed at out-of-class engagement, supplemental instruction, and of course, our classroom facilitation of learning have all made a difference. And thanks to your hard work, our freshman to sophomore retention rate has risen 9 percentage points in just the last 2 years, an accomplishment that at most institutions simply does not happen. What's more, our 6-year graduation rate has risen by 3.5% since the formation of our strategic plan, and the success rates of our first-generation students and those who come with financial need are now comparable with our general student body. Finally, I am beyond pleased to announce that the retention rate of VSU students of color equals that of their white classmates. We've said before that everyone is welcome at VSU, and now, thanks to you, we can also declare proudly that every student is equally valued here, and every student has an equal opportunity to succeed. All of that played a role in helping VSU avoid what many had expected could be a significant decline in fall enrollment. Instead, Blazer Nation this fall is once again a whole lot bigger, with a total of 12,545 students, an increase of nearly 10%. And with many of those students taking a greater number of hours, our FTE increase is actually closer to 11%. Of course, in addition to our gains in retention, this fall's increase in students can also be traced to, get this, a nearly 50% increase in new entering students. Yes, you saw it in the Valdosta Daily Times, but I am proud to say it again. This year's freshman class of 3,437 is the largest in the long history of Valdosta State. Thanks to our admissions team, our advisors, our staff in housing, financial aid, and the bursar's office, and our deans, department heads, and faculty who ensured that we had all the classes needed to meet demand. That's right, thanks to all of you. This year's enrollment report is one to remember. So congratulations to everyone in Blazer Nation for a job very well done. Given that good news, it wasn't surprising that several of the questions you submitted for this forum focused on how we will spend the additional revenue that comes from our increased enrollment. It's true that our increase has led to approximately $4 million in additional funding. But despite that, I do believe that caution continues to be the correct approach. Being cautious, after all, is why we were able to stave off the broad impact on our faculty and staff this summer that many had anticipated. I therefore want to continue to make smart decisions. We know that some of our new revenue has already been spent, as 42 limited term faculty and a whole host of new adjunct instructors were required in order to create the schedules our students needed. Beyond that, at some point soon, we know that we must restore at least some of the travel and operational dollars we cut. We had hoped we'd be able to do that when the state budget improved, but what if that doesn't happen right away? What if instead of at least some of our cut being restored, we have to fund those restorations ourselves? Next, while it is true that we are offering 25% more face-to-face classes than last year, our growth in online ultimately proved to be even larger, with nearly 40% more online sections. That is meeting our students' need, but it comes at a cost to our fee-funded budgets, and that will ultimately impact our overall budget. Finally, we know that the cancellation of SAT and ACT testing dates this past spring and summer led to a change in USG admission standards that undoubtedly helped us. That change will continue through fall 2021, so we are excited about what next fall can bring. But what then? If our enrollment drops in 2022, we will have been wise if we use the revenue we collect during this time to make smart one-time investments as opposed to adding long-term permanent costs. Therefore, we will look at things like our CVIOG adjustments, and hopefully we'll be able to reinstate those soon. But we need to do it in a way that is smart and which minimizes future risks, while also setting us up for sustainable success. I hope you agree. One place where a one-time investment in our future makes absolute sense, I think, relates to our final item in today's forum. Last fall, I began co-chairing an ad hoc task force made up of USG staff and leaders from multiple system institutions. Provost Bob Smith and Vice Presidents Tracy Martin and Rodney Carr were also members of the task force and provided invaluable leadership as our group worked together to explore ways to serve more online adult learners. What our group uncovered was startling. Here in Georgia, it turns out, more than 65,000 learners, most of whom are adults with some college but no degree, are taking online coursework from an institution outside of Georgia. And the more we looked into the places they were going, the more we realized that those institutions provide not just the snazzy commercials you've all seen on TV. They deliver real differences in the student experience, from ease and speed of entry to consistent and fast acceptance of transfer credit, to the kind of concierge coaching we began offering last spring, to a common look and feel in all coursework, to an easy-to-understand one-price model that covers all tuition fees and course materials. We came back and shared what we had learned with department heads, deans, faculty leadership, and others, and many folks told us that the creation of such a model was absolutely something we should pursue. But then COVID hit and the task force's work was halted. Our team, of course, could have set the issue aside as we dealt with the too-many-to-count issues we faced converting to a wholly online format. But that's not how Blazers roll. So instead, we started to think that maybe a global pandemic, when every other business was clearly finding new ways to permanently serve customers online, well, it might be exactly the right time to take a leap. Given VSU's leadership on the task force and our success rolling out the concierge coaching model that is a key part of what online providers use to do what they do, we submitted a proposal to the USG to launch a pilot online career-focused academic model. Weeks of in-depth conversation with senior system leaders followed over the summer. And the result? In August, the Board of Regents heard a proposal for a new e-degree initiative that targets those who have been opting for national online providers. And in that presentation, VSU was offered up as the first potential site for such an offering. More work remains, but pending board approval, we hope to soon move forward with a new online career advancement college here at VSU. We will need the help of many of you to get this off the ground, but we are beyond excited about what is clearly a significant opportunity to potentially serve many more students in South Georgia and beyond. After all, 65,000 learners is no small number, so let's go get them. Colleagues, Thank you. Thank you for submitting your questions. Thank you for taking the time to watch this virtual presidential forum. And most importantly, thank you for everything you do every day to keep this institution moving forward. With our highest enrollment since 2012 and a record class of incoming new students, Valdosta State clearly continues to be on the rise. Together, you have made that happen. And together, we will continue to meet the needs of our students, helping them overcome every obstacle on their way to the life-changing finish line of commencement. Best wishes, stay safe, and as always, go Blazers.